Shalom, my dear friends, from all over the world. We're continuing with the Kitzer, the Likutey Moharan, the holy sefer from Rebbe Nachman of Breslov. A sefer that speaks to us in a very down-to-earth way in our generation. Previously, in other generations, there were some opponents of these Torahs, but now more and more the tzaddikim and sages have come behind us to realize how practical the advice is for our dor, for our generation. So Isa the Oma, where is the center of the universe? It says in Bekoros 8b, know that there exists a higher light than Nefesh, Ruach, and Neshama, the lower soul, the spirit and the upper soul. This is the light of the infinite one. Right? We learned there are 5 levels of soul. Okay, so there's something higher than this. This is the light of the infinite one, blessed be He. And although the intellect cannot grasp this light, nevertheless, the chasing of the mind pursues it by performing the mitzvos with joy. A person merits to comprehend this light through the combination of pursuing and restraint, so that he simultaneously reaches it and yet does not reach it. Through doing mitzvos with joy, he's maybe even subconsciously attaining it, even though he's reaching and he's not reaching, but his soul is pursuing it. In this way, 9 chambers are formed, which are neither lights nor spirits nor souls. There is no one who can comprehend them. They do not make themselves attainable or known, it says in the Zohar. Happy is the person who merits that his thoughts should pursue these conceptions, even though the intellect cannot grasp them, because they are neither attainable nor knowable. This perception is the ultimate goal of everything. As described by the dictum, the culmination of all knowledge is the realization that we know nothing. I love this concept because this is how I end my sefer in Kabbalah. This idea of the ukitz, the top part of the yud, which is keter, and it just goes up and up and up into a nothingness. And that nothingness is where Hashem is there, but He's not there. And that's where there's the koyach. That's where there's the ability to change mazel and to fix things through complete humility, where you're reaching, you're attaining, but you're not attaining. This is a great level. So by performing the mitzvahs with joy, right, that's how you're going to go and get some light from there. Holiness reaches its completion, and the vitality and holiness trapped within the forces of impurity are elevated. Therefore, when a person performs mitzvos with joy, he lifts the divine presence out from within the forces of impurity. A person must keep himself far, far away from depression, because the forces of impurity are integrally bound up with depression, and they are the power of strict judgment. When depression prevails, it is in effect the exile of the divine presence, since the divine presence is the joy of the Jewish people, as is written, the mother of the children rejoices. It says in the Psalms 113. The principal factor in neutralizing the forces of impurity and elevating holiness is joy. Okay, so we see you gotta go and serve God with joy. That depression is chasing the divine presence away. So you gotta go and dig deeper. You gotta dig deeper. You gotta pray to God. You have to find the things that are gonna go and ignite you and keep you away from depression. So by means of the incense offering, a person extracts the vitality from the forces of impurity and merits joy. As is written, incense gladdens the heart, it says in Proverbs. Therefore, a person should recite the passage describing the incense offering in the morning and afternoon prayers with great concentration. For the incense offering is the principal means of elevating all the sparks of holiness from deep within the forces of impurity, and through this a person attains joy. So I'm going to add to this. So a tzaddik said that the incense offering, we don't realize, like the karbanos, all these offerings that we say in the prayers, it's as if we are actually offering these sacrifices, this incense right now in our generation. This is something very real. I mean, prayers have replaced the sacrifices until the temple was rebuilt, but the essence of it, the koach, the strength of the incense and karbanos are there when you pray. It is as if you actually offered the incense. The temple, even though we may not see it, it's still there. It's still there spiritually. So therefore, you can still go and offer things to God. There's still an open door through the incense and karbanos. Not to physically do it, but spiritually to go and offer this with all your heart, with joy. And you're going to go and elevate all the impurities through the incense, to say it in the morning and the afternoon. So when a person performs a mitzvah, that mitzvah has the power to go and arouse all the worlds to the service of God. Consequently, blessing is drawn down into all the worlds, and the main blessing that flows from on high is intellect. When this intellect descends, however, the form that it takes for each person depends on that person's own particular will. Therefore, a person who is interested in the welfare of his soul should direct his will in the proper way so that it will elicit this blessing of intellect. He should there also introduce faith into this blessing of intellect, since it is known one must not rely exclusively on intellect. So when you go and you do a mitzvah, you say a blessing, you do a mitzvah, there's sustenance coming down from the worlds above. And you can channel this mitzvah to go into your intellect. You can channel it to how you want to be close to God. Or, God forbid, you can maybe waste it. You want to take this blessing and you want to do it, say it with all your heart, and you want to channel and have in mind that light should flow into the right places in your life. From the inner essence of these blessings, which are elicited by the mitzvos that are performed with joy, the settling and organizing faculty of the mind also receive blessing. This faculty is a level of Kitzer, which denotes the idea of waiting, as in the wait, katar, for me a bit, and I will speak to you. As it says in Iyov 36:2, for when you ask someone a question involving intellect, he says, wait, while I settle my mind. There too, on the level of Kitzer, a person needs faith. We were saying before, when you're going to go and channel this blessing and this mitzvah, have in mind that God should give you more faith, right? If you have faith, you're going to do more mitzvahs, okay? And so these mitzvahs are taking from the highest level of Kitzer. It's bringing down blessing into the intellect of this person. A mitzvah clears the mind of confusion. It directs a person in the right pathway to be a channel for the upper worlds, for light, to shine into this world. This faculty, which is the level of Kitzer, stands in front of the mind like a barrier and blocks it from its pursuit. For the mind races in the pursuit to grasp the light of the Infinite One, may he be blessed. And this settling and organizing faculty of the mind forms a barrier between the mind and the light of the Infinite. As a result of these two opposing forces, this simultaneous pursuit and restraint, the mind kicks and strikes up against the barrier, which is the settling and organizing faculty. When a person has built up and rectified this faculty so that the Kitzer is in its proper state, then this combination of pursuit and restraint results in the formation of 9 chambers through which one grasps the light of the Infinite in the manner of reaching and not reaching. In other words, the person pursues the light of the Infinite and approaches it to grasp it, yet he does not reach it and does not grasp it. The reason why specifically 9 chambers are formed is because the combination of pursuit, striking, and restraint causes the different aspects of the mind to be included in one another, for there are three aspects to the mind, and as a result of this whole dynamic, each one of them comes to include all three. 3 times 3 produces 9, namely the 9 chambers. A person merits all this by performing the mitzvahs with joy. So through joy, you're able to go and reach this level where of the Ein Sof, where you're receiving, you're not receiving. You can grasp and you can't grasp, and that's where you change Hashem's ratzon, Hashem's will, and that's where you change Mazel, and that's where blessing can flow for all the world. Is you break everything that's intruding in your life. This is the highest level of attainment. But at the same time, we can attain. But then we can attain. Okay, and all this happens through the joy of the mitzvah. Joy of the mitzvah elevates the mitzvah to places where it can no longer go. Mitzvah gedol elias b'simcha tamid. Okay, joy is the principal factor in the elevation of holiness. In the future, the forces of impurity will be nullified completely due to the enormous joy that will prevail then. And the Jewish people will leave their exile in joy, as is written, for in joy you will go out. As it says in Isaiah, Ki v'simcha seiseyu, u'v'shalom tuvalum. Ki v'simcha u'v'shalom tuvalum. He'arim v'hagvois, yifsechu lifnechem, yifsechu v'vnechem rina. Ki v'simcha seiseyu. Okay, for joy, we're going to go out of exile. And we're going to elevate all the impurities. Only through joy. Not only that, but through the agency of the Gentile. And against their will, the forces of impurity will be nullified. For the Gentiles themselves, and with their own hands, will bring the house of Israel out of its exile due to the great joy that will prevail. As is written, at that time, the Gentiles will say that Hashem has performed great deeds with us. We were joyful. Az yamru v'goyim. Hayinu samechem. May it happen speedily in our days. Amen. May it be His will. So it's actually the Goyish nations that are going to go, and in some way we're going to have to be unified as a Jewish people. And through that unity and through that joy that we're going to have in mitzvos, this is going to break the impurities. And the Goyim are actually going to lead us to have a shalom with ourselves. Right? We need to have achdus, unity in Klal Yisrael. That ends the lesson. To summarize, just be happy.